the lunches haven't improved that much. And they have hamburgers and cheeseburgers, chicken fried steak, and pizza today.
We have a main dish every day that is very healthy. We probably did about 25 of those out of like 350. You know, they kind of like now have the pizza and they'd rather get fries, cookies, but you can't choose for them. They have to choose for themselves.
I don't know any child who would rather have vegetables over a candy bar when both are placed in front of them.
A lot of these fast food restaurants are still operating in school cafeterias all across the country.
And it's not a good thing. I don't agree with all the new guidelines. I wish they'd gone a little further. We could cure literally 80% of the problem for children in school if we went back to school cafeterias where they prepared the food in the school.
Can I get for you, babe? Can I have a cheeseburger, please?
You sure can.
Thank you.
Have you lost any weight?
It's just kind of aggravating because my weight's not really going the way it's supposed to go.
When we release our children into the care of schools, we expect that they're not going to drink unsafe water that will make them sick. We don't expect them to breathe unsafe air that will make them sick, and we shouldn't expect them to eat unsafe food that will make them sick. The industry, I think, cares less about what they sell in schools than the opportunity they have to market their brand. We're paying a very dear price for letting the food industry act at will and recruiting our children as loyal customers.
Remember, I went to a preschool once, and kids were sitting on little chairs, little red and white chairs that said Coca-Cola. Well, what do they think? Well, Coca-Cola's good. It's part of preschool. I should be drinking more Coca-Colas.
Marketers want to start to target kids as early as they can. Studies show that children as young as 2 and 3 start to recognize brands.
The problem is they don't see any commercials for bananas, strawberries, zucchini, and broccoli. It shapes the whole way they think about food, what they think food is. There have been attempts to regulate how we market food to children since the very beginning of the obesity epidemic. 1977, the same year as the McGovern Report. Consumer advocates lobbied the Federal Trade Commission, the government arm in charge of advertising, to regulate ads for sugar-laden products.
It's good. The executive director of the Federal Trade Commission says the group is slowly coming to the conclusion that television advertising aimed at children is unfair.
The cumulative effect of the thousands of hours of advertising viewed by children is that kids are being told the biggest lie they will ever hear in their lives.
It's not fair to use the public airwaves to encourage children to develop health habits and buying patterns which they will probably keep up in adulthood that are hazardous to health.
The FTC's proposed restrictions have been defended as vital to protect the health of America's children, and assailed as an attack on free enterprise, free speech, and as a dangerous intrusion by the federal government into family life.
Broadcasters, advertising agencies, and toy companies all banded together to prevent the FTC from regulating children's television.
And an official at Quaker Oats said one of the best uses of sugar he could think of was getting children to eat their cereal.
Big food won the battle. No regulations were put in place. But marketing to kids really took off a few years later with processed foods. And with the advent of corn syrup, a cheaper alternative to sugar, the big food makers had more money to spend on bigger sizes with better prices and on ad campaigns with corporate tie-ins and high-priced celebrity endorsements. Now food advertising is everywhere.
Giant Snapple? I know, it tastes just like regular Snapple, doesn't it?
Dr. Pepper's unbelievably satisfying. We in this Congress have a responsibility to protect America's children from the sophisticated, aggressive, relentless marketing of junk food to our children.
With obesity rates skyrocketing, Congress tried again in 2004 to regulate food industry marketing to children. Big Food and fast food responded, much like they did 20 years before.
When I hear this discussion, I hear marketing to children, which really you're saying advertising to children, and you're also saying it's all bad. And that's just not true. Ronald McDonald never sells to children. He informs and inspires through magic and fun.
Industry under threat of government regulation will say we can police ourselves, and they launch into this series of self-regulatory promises that will market less to children. We'll pull our products out of schools. And the question is, when you hold them accountable and actually study whether changes have been made, what do you find? It's not a pretty picture.
Keeps them full, keeps them focused.
Get a spectacular Spider-Man toy.
Made with real fruit. Thanks, Mom.
With the fox guarding the henhouse, children's exposure to junk food ads, including online, increased 60% from 2008 to 2010.
The Federal Trade Commission has less authority to regulate advertising to kids than it does to adults. You would think that would be just the other way around.
There are several studies that show that when children are watching television, especially with food commercials, they're primed to eat more. One study had kids watching TV, and they gave them a bowl of goldfish crackers to munch on while they were watching. And so the kids that watched TV, while they showed also food commercials, they ate 45% more goldfish crackers compared to kids watching the same TV program with non-food commercials.